Hey everyone, this is my hamstring and glute workout. So the first exercise that I'm starting off with is a single hamstring curl. I'm really just focusing on warming up my hamstring. So as you can see, the movement is very slow. I'm going down nice and slow and focusing on squeezing my hamstring to move the weight. Also, if you look at my lower back, I'm making sure everything is in place. I'm not overly using my lower back to move the weight. And I'm focusing again just on squeezing my hamstrings. And then I'm doing the bottom half of the movement. So just the bottom half all the way down to about halfway up, squeezing my hamstring as hard as possible. And next, I'm going to move on to the other side. All right, and over here, I'm just hopping over to the other side, and I am going to warm up this side. Again, all the way down, stretching my hamstring, and then squeezing, coming all the way up. As you can see, I'm actually not going all the way down. I'm keeping tension on the hamstring. Again, your mind-muscle connection is everything. So making sure you feel your hamstring as you're lowering the weight, and then you're squeezing the muscle to bring the weight up. I'm not using my lower back. You see no swinging of my leg, no overarching of my lower back, and then finishing off this movement by just doing the bottom half. So big stretch at the bottom and squeezing my hamstring to about halfway up. And this exercise is great to warm up the hamstrings, each one separately. All right, and second movement that we're going to move on to is good mornings. So you can do this exercise with a free barbell or a Smith machine barbell. What I'm using is a Smith machine that actually moves back and forth. So it's a little bit more range of motion on here and a little bit of stability. Again, you can use this with a free barbell and just knock these out at the squat rack. So I'm bending at the waist. I'm focusing on pushing my hips as far back as possible. I'm reaching all the way down, stretching my hamstrings, and then squeezing the back of my legs, my hamstrings, and my glutes to stand up. I'm focusing on keeping the weight in the heels of my feet. So you can even lift your toes up while you do this movement to force all the weight in the heels, and then finishing it off with partials. So knocking out a few right at the top, and then moving on to the next exercise. All right, moving on to the third exercise, we're going to the lying hamstring curl machine. So on here, we're going to do a totally different variation. I'm splitting it up into thirds. So the first part, I'm only doing the top third of the movement. I'm slowly lowering the weight, but keeping tension on my hamstrings, and then squeezing my hamstring to bring the weight all the way up as close as possible to my glutes. Here I'm moving down to the second third, so the middle third of the movement. I'm not going all the way down, and I'm also not coming all the way up, keeping a ton of tension on the hamstrings. This totally burns them out. And then lastly, moving down to the bottom third of the movement. This is the hardest. It's going to tire out those hamstrings and totally kill them. Don't stop until you can barely flex, just like that. I'm dying. All right, and the last exercise is the glute ham raise. Lots of gyms don't have this machine, so use the hyper extension. It's very similar to this one, and you'll get the same benefits. So what I'm doing here is I am squeezing my glutes, then bending my knees and flexing my hamstrings as hard as possible to come all the way up. Make sure you have a nice, comfortable position. Here I needed to shift a little bit lower to make sure I could bend my knees. So you want to squeeze your glutes right here, then flex your hamstrings to come up. Make sure on here you're not overly using your lower back. If our glutes and hamstrings are tired or a little bit weak, we'll end up using too much lower back, feeling too much tension and pain in that area. So make sure you can put your hands on your glutes or your hamstrings. Make sure you're using those muscles to initiate and to move you up and to keep you nice and sturdy. Again, this is the last exercise. I like to keep it with just body weight. It's a total killer. I mean, this just burns out my glutes and my hamstrings like no other. So squeeze your glutes on the way up, flex your hamstrings, and this is it. You've made it through the workout. Good luck and happy training. I'm dead.